first of all, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have all of you here in this space. This building and this work can be a very lonely place and a very difficult slog, particularly if you're working on an issue or on multiple issues like trying to protect our waters and trying to protect our waterways and fighting against the grain, trying to swim upstream all of the time. So it is just, I told my friend JT Haynes when I saw him a little bit ago that this is the best moment that I have had yet to this session here, and thank you. Thank you. It really does it helps me so much to see all of you and have you here. So I'm State Senator Jen McEwen. I represent Duluth, the beautiful city of Duluth on the greatest lake in the world, Lake Superior. Yes, that's right. And I came into the Senate in 2020 in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And had challenged my predecessor at the time in a primary who had done a sort of flip-flop on this type of toxic copper nickel mining. And a lot of Duluthians were really upset about that, including me. And so many of us organized, like many of you have organized over the years, and we decided that somebody else should perhaps take that seat and actually represent our interests here at the Capitol and do that forcefully and strongly. And so I've tried to do that in these 4 years that I've been here. I am the chair of the Senate Labor Committee, which I love. I'm very passionate about working people and the need for people to have jobs and to be able to make a living in whichever way they would need to make a living, and to support their families and to thrive in their communities and in our society. And I know that many of us have talked, we're here because we're trying to save our waters, but I just want to speak very briefly to how interconnected all of these issues are. We've talked a lot about how water is life, water is everything. It's in our bodies, it moves through us, it is in the food we eat, it's all around us, it's in the air we breathe, it is life, quite literally. But it is also critically important that we connect our environmental advocacy to the needs of working people and of people who maybe cannot work for various reasons, their age or their abilities, that we connect the need to protect our waters and our environment to the need to care for one another in community. That need of care is so, so critically important right now, especially when we have seen the ascendancy of a politics of the celebration of cruelty and a real debased nastiness. And we need that. So we can overcome that. I believe that we can. We're in such a difficult political climate right now. But I just wanted to let you know, so the bills that will sort of be centering our discussion today and the various testifiers that you'll hear from, perhaps the most well-known of those bills is our Prove It First bill, which is on the t-shirts of many people in this room. I see, thank you for that, and signs. Yes, Prove It First does exactly what the title says. It provides for a rule that would be in place if it were passed, whereby a proposer of a non-ferrous mine, a copper or nickel mine in Minnesota, before they could be considered for permitting, would have to show to the public, show to everyone, and prove it first that they had been able to operate a mine like that in a similar environment for 10 years, and then have it closed for 10 years without polluting the environment that it's in, right? So it is It is exactly what it says. Prove it first. Show us that you could do this safely, right? And it's a very common sense type of bill. And I've had wonderful discussions with constituents in my district who I think many of us don't consider ourselves necessarily anti-mining or even anti-extractive industry if it's done responsibly. And I'm sure some people in this room, we might have different opinions on where that line might fall and whether it's possible to do this type of mining at all safely. But we haven't seen yet an example of it having been done safely. And we've heard a lot of different arguments around the advocates for these proposals. One of the most insidious arguments that I think that has been brought out is to invoke child labor in Africa. And I need to just say real briefly why I find that so insidious. And it is because child labor in Africa and in other places around the world is a real human rights catastrophe and problem that is happening. The people who are behind the mining proposals that are being brought up in Minnesota are also the same people up at the top who are responsible for that child labor in the Congo, right? Those are the same people, the same class of mining executives, the billionaire mining executives. If they want to solve child labor, they should solve it. They have the power to do that now. So how dare they come and try to make us choose a false choice between our watersheds, the water that makes us who we are, our Lake Superior, our boundary waters, our Mississippi watershed, and say, well, if you want to help children, you have to sacrifice your water. How dare you say that to us? So the next time you hear them invoke that, you demand that they get serious about that. Ask them what they've done to help the children in the Congo. Ask them if they've joined Amnesty International. Ask them if they've joined other organizations working on child labor across the world. And I bet the answer will be, unfortunately, no. What they want is the money. They want to take and take and take from them, from us. And so I just want to make sure that's really clear. So and that just brings me to my next point, which is that really what this is all about. This is all about money. This is all about money. Okay? It's not about jobs. It's not. For some people who advocate for it, it is about jobs, but actually the reason that these proposals are being brought forward is not for jobs. It's to use people, to use their labor, to divide our communities in order to get to the riches that lie underneath the ground. And it's not to leave and enrich our communities and to bring that wealth here. They're going to take it, just like all of the mining corporations have done decade after decade after decade in northern Minnesota. We've seen pensions shot. We've seen them take the money and run, declare bankruptcy and run. So I want to just tell you very briefly, because some people may not know the current political dynamic that we have around these bills in particular. So we have the Prove It First bill. We also have what we call the Bad Actor bill, which is, again, what it sounds like. It wouldn't allow permitting for certain bad actor corporations. So if there are corporate actors who had been found guilty of fraud or corruption in various countries around the world, which is rampant in this type of industry internationally around the world, they wouldn't be able to be considered for permitting, right? Oh, that could be taken into consideration, right? Not just looking at the project proposal in a silo, but actually considering who are these people that we're considering allowing to do business in our communities. That's the Bad Actor bill. The other bill that we have is a taxpayer protection bill, which we had heard from our representative about how taxpayers will be left on the hook for these catastrophic messes. And we have seen this over and over again as well, right? We have a Superfund site in the St. Louis River, just upstream in the western part of Duluth, going up north. And that Superfund site, there has been millions and millions of dollars of our money spent to clean up the mess from U.S. Steel, from all the various extractive industry that used to be along that corridor and that polluted it for decades. We paid for the cleanup, right? So the Taxpayer Protection Bill puts in extra protective measures to try to force those corporate actors to put the money up front and actually show that they have it available in the inevitable event with this type of mining, that there would be a catastrophic environmental failure. So politically, I don't want to take too long. There's wonderful, wonderful testifiers. Wait till you hear them. It's just amazing. But I want to tell you about the political situation, because that over these 4 years, I feel I've developed somewhat of an expertise on. Here in the Minnesota Senate, as many of you know, we have a 34-33 split between the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, of which I am a member now, and the Republican Party they have 33 Senate members. Typically, we think of the Democrats as the environmental party, right? They're the ones who are the environmentally friendly party, and so we can vote for them with at least some sense of confidence that they're going to be protecting our environment. I think overall that is generally still correct, but we do not have the votes in the Minnesota Senate DFL party to pass these bills. Yeah. So the last couple of years, as many of you know, we've passed historic legislation in the state of Minnesota: paid family medical leave, earn sick and save time, on and on and on. I won't go into the list, but many, many pieces of legislation that were a long time coming. And a lot of those measures we passed with a 34-33 vote in the Senate. But these measures to protect our waters, to ask these mega corporations to prove first that they could do this safely, do not have the support to pass the Environment Committee or to pass the floor in the Senate right now. So my ask to you, to all of you, is to get loud about these issues. And not just to our DFL representatives, not just to the colleagues in the DFL. This should be a nonpartisan issue. It shouldn't be partisan at all. It should cross party lines. For many years, there was a strong tradition of conservation-oriented Republicans, and I'd like to see those colleagues get that fire in their belly once again, right? Yeah. And so I'm asking you to get loud about this with all of your elected officials, your local elected officials, your state representatives, your state senators. Let them know that this is a make or break issue for us. If this type of mining opens up in Minnesota, it will be the end of Minnesota as we know it. It will be the end. And it's not acceptable to me, and I know it's not acceptable to you. And I think actually if people actually got their mind around it, it wouldn't be acceptable to most people either. And this is not too much to ask that they prove it first. It is really a baseline ask. Just prove it first. Just do it. If you claim you could do it safely, go do it somewhere safely and then show us. Bring us the proof and show us how you did it. Then we'll talk about it. We'll actually consider it. But don't come to our communities and divide us and lie to us and show us fake science and try to force this through back rooms and weird political and legal maneuvers. Don't do that. Just be upfront about it. But what I would say is that in the times that we are in politically, we need, all of us, to get very, very serious about holding our elected officials accountable. That means that even if they're your friend, right? Even if you like them, they're very nice, they do other very good work, right? There has to be a point where you say, we're going to find someone to primary you. I'm sorry. Because these things are too important to be playing political games with. This is too important. So let's go ahead and primary people. Let's run people against elected officials. Let's ask them pointed, hard questions in public. That's okay. It's okay. And it's okay to be upset. We want to be civil, and we will be civil. We'll conduct ourselves civilly. But it's okay to have the fire in your belly about this, because it warrants that. It warrants it. So that's my ask for all of us, is to hold me accountable, hold each other accountable, hold our elected officials accountable. Let's all do that together. And when we start to do that, we will make progress. We really, really will. We should hold our standards high. We could do so much if we start holding our elected officials accountable. So with that, my friends, yes?
How do we find out which representative DFLs are ambivalent or not supportive of passing this bill, so we know who to get in touch with?
Yes.
Hi there. I'm Chris Knopp, Executive Director of Friends of the Boundary Waters, and we can provide you the list of elected officials that have endorsed Prove It First. So you can